Yeah, hi there. In this quick lab, we are going to cover orchestrating with Kubernetes. So this is the lab GSP021. Let's start the lab. So I'm connected to Google Cloud Platform now. I'm going to launch Cloud Shell. Let's wait for it to come up. I'll open it in a new window. So that's easy to work on because we get more area to work on. Let it come. Let's set the size. Okay. Now we'll begin with the lab. So first thing obviously is to check for the account with which we are connected. So gcloud auth list. We should allow it, and then this is the account which is correct now. Gcloud project config list project. This is to ensure that we are connected to the right Google project because we are not connected to any project here. If you see project is unset, we have to set the project. Set, and this is a project ID. Syntax is wrong, so it should be gcloud config set project and then project ID. Yeah. So project is set now. Now we are going to move to the next step. So we are going to set the zone as central 1B, US central 1B. So gcloud config set compute slash zone and the zone name, which is US central 1B. Now we are going to create a Kubernetes cluster with gcloud container clusters create command. This is going to create a Kubernetes cluster with the name IO. It will take some time, so let it create. Okay, so Kubernetes cluster with the name IO got created in the zone US Central 1B. So if we go to the console, we can see, okay, cluster is created and it is of size 3. So let's move to the next task. So then they are saying to get some code, sample code. Let's follow the steps. Clearing the screen and let's get this code. So basically this code is present in some bucket as in a Google store. So they are using gsutil command to copy that code from the existing bucket to locally. Once this is done, we have to move to this particular directory. Okay, let's go to the directory, clearing the screen. Let's checking out the contents of the directory. Okay, now what we have to do, we have to just create a deployment using kubectl create deployment command. It's going to launch a single instance of nginx container. So the command is kubectl create deployment. Name of the deployment is nginx, and the image that will be used to create the container is of nginx 1.10.0. So this is done. So if we go to console and check in the workloads, we should see this deployment. If we see the type is deployment and name of the deployment is nginx. This is what we created just now. Let's go to the next step. Now they're saying to check the pods. So we can check from the shell also how many pods are there because it's a single pod. So we should see one, yeah, one by one, which is in the running state. Now we are going to expose the port 80 and it's going to create a service which is load balancer type. And if we execute the command kubectl get services, we should see that service. Right now the external IP address is pending, so let it come. However, if we go to console and check services and ingress, we should see this Nginx external load balancer service which has been created just now. So let's wait, execute this command again. Let's see if we got the external IP address. Not yet. Let's wait for it. Okay, we got the external IP address for Nginx load balancer. The same we should be able to see it in the console. External load balancer, this is the endpoint which is the external IP address. So if we click on this arrow button, it will open up in a new window. Let's click here, then we should be able to see Nginx. So that is deployed. That is fine. So the task is completed. Let's move to the next one. So we are going to create a monolith application. So for this is the YAML file monolith.yaml, which is already there. Now let's create pod for this monolith application on the Cloud Shell. Let's clear up the screen and execute this command kubectl create -f and the name of the YAML file, which is pods monolith.yaml. Now we can check the pods also, kubectl get pods. We should see one pod for monolith as well, which is in running state. Now we are going to, if you want to, we can describe this pod using kubectl describe pods, and the name of the pod is monolith. So we'll get all those details related to this particular pod. Okay, now let's interact with the pod. So we can do port forwarding. So what we are going to do is we are going to launch a second terminal. In that second terminal, we are going to execute this command kubectl port dash forward monolith. So we are mapping local port 10080 to the port 80 within the container. So once this is done, now if we go back to our first shell, Cloud Shell, and if we execute this command, we should get message hello. Now let's try to use this secure one, which should give error. So what we are going to do, we are going to just create this, execute this command with login and enter the password as password for this user. It's going to show you the token because we want to utilize this token. So let's save this token in a variable token. The password is actually password which I got from here. Now let's use the curl command again, and it might again ask for the password. No, it didn't. It is just, it got the message hello. So this is working fine. We can quickly check the logs also. So we'll open a third terminal and we will execute this command kubectl logs -f monolith. Let's open a third terminal. So this will keep showing it. Now on the first terminal, what we'll do, we will execute this command curl command, and then we will quickly move to third terminal to observe that. Let's try it out once again and move to third terminal. We should see in the logs. Now what we are going to do is execute a command in the shell inside the container. So this is the command that we are copying, and let's go to the first terminal and let's clear the screen. So we are in the container and the shell is launched for us. So from the container, if we want, we can try a ping command, getting the reply, and now we can exit the container and come back to the normal outside. Now let's uh, create a service. So before creating service, make sure that we are in the correct directory. So let's go to the correct directory, and then we can check the secure-monolith.yaml file. And once it is done, I mean, after doing the cat, we can execute these commands. So let's copy these commands and execute it. The first command is going to create a secret using TLS certificate. The second one is going to create a config map, and the third one is going to create a secure pod, which is monolith using secure-monolith.yaml file. Now we have to create services for this particular secure pod, and let's see if this is done. Yep. Now we have to create a firewall rules. So create the firewall rules for this. Let's check if the firewall rule is created. Yes, this is done. Now we can quickly check the instances that are there. So 3 instances are there because it's a cluster in which 3 nodes were created. Now we need to add. Now we are trying to get the pods based on the label. First is application is monolith. We are getting both. Now if we try to get the pods based on this filter, application is monolith and secure is enabled, we do not get anything. So what we need to do, we need to add label. So we are doing kubectl label pods secure monolith, and this label we are going to add secure equals to enabled. And once we after this label is added, if we execute this command to get pods with the filter, we should be able to see that pod having this label application is monolith and secure equals to enabled. Now we can describe the endpoints, and then if we execute this gcloud compute instances list command, this is going to list all the instances. And then what we are going to do is curl -k https external IP address, this is the one, and port is 31000. So what we have to do once we do gcloud compute instances list command, we are going to see these 3 machines, and we will be using this external IP address and run this command curl -k https, and I'm going to take the external IP address of this second VM and 31000. I'm getting the message back. So for all these 3 external IP address, we should be able to get the message. So this task is also done. Now we are going to deploy applications with Kubernetes so that it's scalable. So this is the YAML file deployments auth.yaml. The point to notice, it is currently having replicas as one, so it's going to create only one pod, and it is using this image version 2.0 for now. So let's create the deployment. Now we can create the services. we can create another deployments related to hello. Service is also created. Now this is the front end, last one. Okay, this is all done. Now let's use this command to get the services of the front end. External IP is pending. Let's wait for it to come. Now we are getting the external IP address. So let's execute the curl command. And we are seeing this message hello. So this task is also completed. With this, we have completed the lab. We should see 100 out of 100. Let's end the lab. Thank you.